Hello and welcome everyone. Today we are talking about the communities part of Project DEIOS, and I have a guest here, which is Janet from World Anvil. And I'm very happy to have you, Janet, here on board today, because you are part of the World Anvil project, which already has a giant thriving community of over 300,000 users. So who else would be better than you to talk about communities and how they impact world building and creating world maps, stories, whatever is involved in there.
Well,
So,
I'm thrilled you had me on, so thank you so much. Community is one of my favorite things to talk about. As you mentioned, I am one of the founders of World Anvil. We have a community of over 300,000 world builders, which is completely thrilling. And yeah, I mean, when we started the World Anvil project, I would never have imagined how important community would be, or how big it would get, but mainly how important community would be. So I'm really excited to be here. I'm really excited to talk about community. I'm so excited about Project DEIOS. Oh my goodness.
and
Oh,
we're
yes.
almost there. I mean, there are not many reveals left. This is another reveal that is now open, but there are a few more. So hang in there. But for today, we have, as we done last week with Kiora, we have prepped a few questions. And let's start this off with me asking you a question, Janet.
Sure.
How important do you think is a community for world builders or writers?
Funnily enough, if you'd asked me that 2 years ago, I'd have been like, well, community's nice. But in the 18 months since World Anvil has been alive, I have seen firsthand how important community is to helping people succeed in their endeavors. And that's all world building endeavors. It doesn't matter if you're doing pure world building, or if you're writing for a book, or if you're writing for an RPG campaign or a computer game. Having a community around you is such a support network. And it's a completely different kind of support network from your boyfriend or your family, because it's people who are as passionate as you are about what you're doing. So, for example, with World Anvil, we run monthly competitions, and we have month-long competitions twice a year for world building. We encourage people to, in summer camp, answer 30 world building prompts. In World Ember, write 10,000 words of world building. So these are big sprints. They're akin to something like NaNoWriMo, wherein novelists try and write a novel within a month. And in all of these community projects that we run, in all of these competitions, I see time and time again, the people who finish, the people who succeed, are the ones who are cheerleading and being cheerleaded by the community. And it's vital. It's so great. They offer help, they offer support. On those days where you feel like you can't manage to produce something, they will help you. And even if you look back to, I mean, the daddy of world building, Tolkien, Tolkien had a writers group with C.S. Lewis and a bunch of other writers. That's how he moved forwards. That's how he succeeded. And I really believe that it's the key for all of us creatives. Like, there's a myth that writing is a solitary endeavor. There's a myth that world building is something that happens behind closed doors. But I would argue that if you want to succeed and you want to be inspired, go find people to talk about it with, because they'll help you refine your ideas, they'll help you explain your ideas, and they'll inspire you with more stuff by the questions they ask and the ideas that they have. So yeah, community is absolutely, I wouldn't have been able to finish anything without it.
I think I have to add something here, because the experience with Dungeon Fork was pretty much the same. We always approached, with Dungeon Fork, we've always approached game masters mainly, because they need maps for the games. And as a game master myself, I found myself Googling for maps all the time. So having a community that is sharing maps and that is sharing material is an insane time saver, because most of the time I struggle prepping my games because I just started not early enough, and then I'm running out of time. And having a community that shares those maps is a great time saver, because I can just search for a map that might fit my game and just import it, tweak it, and then use it for my game. so I think community is, as you said, is a great source for inspiration, is a great source for feedback, but it also is a great source for saving time when you're running out of time as a game master.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and pooling resources and all of that stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If somebody has already homebrewed the venomous banana that you want to have in your game, use their homebrew. If they're offering it, use it.
Yeah.
And you know what? You'll get them back because you'll create something that they want to need. They want to use rather. And that's how it goes. You know, paying it forward is a great way to make sure that everybody has things they can use. And that's one of the beautiful things about community.
Absolutely. Just a quick plug here, because you just mentioned it. I think summer camp, as this video is going live, summer camp is just out, right? It's taking place.
Yes, we are just around the corner.
So if you want to check out how communities can work together and how the competitions and the contests that summer camp involves are running, just go out and check out summer camp. And what is your URL? Janet, what is your URL?
Sorry, you broke up there for a second.
Oh, sorry. If you want to check out summer camp, where do you go?
Yes. So summer camp is going to be launched on the 1st of July. That's when the prompts go live, which is very close, astonishingly close at this point. We have some work to do still. And the page will be up before that, probably the week before. So if you want to check it out, make sure that you're following us on Twitter, make sure that you're joining our Discord. That's where you're going to get all the information about summer camp. When the prompts go live, that's where you're going to get the first crack at them so that you are completely ready for that 30-day marathon of world building. That's how that happens. And I have to say, Dungeon Fog is sponsoring it this year. So you're in with a chance to win Dungeon Fog memberships, which is super exciting. I'm so excited.
Wow. Right. So now, we've touched community a little bit. The question is, I think most people who are watching this are going to ask, well, okay, that's great, but how is the community aspects going to affect Project DEIOS and the maps that they are creating there?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great question. And, you know, I mean, thinking about how communities work is fantastic. And, you know, the reviews and the feedback that you can get for them. But if you want to work with people in a more tangible way, if you want to create projects with people, for example, you're doing a West Marches campaign or you're co-authoring a novel or any of these ideas, there's so many great ways to collaboratively world build. You know, we are really looking to serve these people and looking to help these people because it's such an amazing thing. It's such a noble endeavor. You know, we are introducing all sorts of cool tools to help people do this. So I'm super excited about that. Obviously, World Anvil has things like co-authoring already. We have things like the ability to write together. We have the ability to give restricted permissions to certain articles. And we have the ability to submit articles for publication without being able to see the rest of the private stuff, right? So your players, for example, can write things. What I'm really looking forward to is what DEIOS is going to add to this. And Till, I think you should probably tell us a little bit more about that on the map making side.
Yeah, I would love to. So you've just mentioned it. With World Anvil, there are already a lot of tools implemented that help you to co-author and collaborate on your articles, on the worlds that you're creating. With Dungeon Fog, we mainly focused on the sharing aspect so far. And that is something that we're going to change with Project DEIOS, because I think it's a great opportunity now that we two are working together on this, is like to stick to the guns where we are experts in. And World Anvil is an expert in making collaborations possible. And we're an expert in map making. So bringing those two forces together, I think is going to offer great tool set for people, which means that in Project DEIOS, there's going to be permission systems where you can allow people to join in on the maps that you're creating. And this can start from players that you just hand out the map and say, well, this is the map I have created. And you can give them the permission to comment onto the map, to possibly add in there, write something, ask questions. I know that Heroes with World Anvil has come out already. So having player locations or villain locations directly on the map is a great thing, and I think players will love that. But it also means that you can have co-authors on your map that can either, again, just comment or give feedback, have a separated layer where they can post questions to the map author. But this will go up to the point where you will be able to collaboratively work on the map. So you can create a map co-author that has the right to really edit the map, to add to that map. There are things where we need to experiment first before we can truly say that it works or it doesn't work. But we at least want to try and tip our toes into the waters of having people working on a map simultaneously. I don't know if it's working. I'm not sure if it can work. Yeah, cross fingers. It would be really awesome. But at least you will be able to create community folders, like collaborative folders, where you can say, I can add co-authors to that. I think that it will heavily involve World Anvil because you have all the tools there already.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of see this a little bit like when you're writing, when you're having a book, and people are starting to add their own fanfic to the book. So having a map should open the possibility to look at the map and say, well, that's a beautiful map. I want to add to that by possibly adding adventures, small adventures, adding battle maps to locations where you think that this could fit in there. And really bringing the creational process of creating maps and creating worlds and creating the stories to a point where people can collaborate on that.
Absolutely. I mean, you mentioned at the beginning there that we are bringing our own expertise. So it's kind of like the Avengers assembling, in my opinion. Like we are all bringing what we're really good at, which is fantastic. And one of the things that I'm really looking forward to is exactly this: is the idea of, for example, if you're building a West Marches campaign, your DMs will be able to go in and build their own battle maps in the world map that you've created. Right, so that's all going to be so beautifully integrated together. Your players are going to be able to add comments to your map potentially, like or kind of like, I mean, graffiti, like Bob was here, you know, that kind of stuff. That's going to be so valuable. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. I mean, bringing up the players' journal and the diaries they're having. I mean, having the opportunity to say we want to go there is a very valuable information for a game master.
Oh my gosh, it's the best. Like that's why I make my players write journals. That's why I ask them super casual questions after the session, like, so what do you think's going to happen next? Because that helps me know what I'm building next. Because nobody has the time to build an entire world all at once in massive detail. That's world builders disease territory, and we do not go there. You build in stages. So having the ability to go in and out of the map and move it around and be able to go in and build what you need for your players is going to be so valuable. It's going to be amazing. I cannot wait. The other thing that I'm super excited for example, is if you've written a book and you have a fan base, and I know a lot of the people in World Anvil are already in that situation. They've written a book, they've been published, they have people who are excited about the world, and they have what is essentially a fan, not exactly a wiki because it doesn't work like a wiki, but they have a model of their world setting online that people can go and read. How cool would it be if the fans who read about the Glass Palace or whatever it was can then go and add a Dungeon Fog map of what they imagine the Glass Palace is to your world map? Or if they could build up the regions and add their own ideas and add their own fanfic and add their own stories about, I think this NPC has this past, or I think this NPC or side character is like this, or has this, or is from here, or this is what the house looks like. They can build their own conjecture potentially onto your world. They can build up their fanfic of your world. And that is, not only is it beautiful, and not only is that stunning, the idea that you as an author have inspired these people, but it's something that you could potentially give as perks to your Patreons. It's something that you could potentially also help with monetizing. Exactly. And that's something so valuable for authors because it takes a long time to release a book. and having something like a Patreon where you can release small amounts of world building in between, and then give permissions to certain patrons to be able to go and add their fanfic, go and add their collaborative ideas. That's something that's incredibly rewarding to your fans, and it can help you with your monetization strategy as well. So I would argue with anybody who's doing this kind of world building, with anybody who's creating a public world, if that's a West Marches, if that's a living world, this is going to help your monetization strategy, as well as it is going to help you build collaboratively and get inspired and all of those things. It's going to be such a valuable tool.
Yes, absolutely. And again, to bring this up once more, it is a time saver as well, because the way we are looking at this is, again, with this Dungeon Fork Plan Create Share aspect, means that we're not always talking about world maps here or region maps. People will create cities, people will create villages, people will create generic battle maps like a cave or a lost forest or a crumbled tower that they will make public, which means that all those public maps will be available for you to integrate in your world. So if you're creating a region and you want to populate that with different destinations and locations where people can go to, you don't have to create all those maps yourself. You can go to the public libraries of Project DEIOS and look if you can find a city or a town or a small village or a location or a battle map, and just take that and put that on your map. And you can do this yourself, or you can ask your community if they want to add in there. And I think this makes the whole experience so much more alive and so much more thriving that I'm so excited about this. I can't wait to see this happen.
Absolutely. Till, am I allowed to talk about demographics?
Yes, you are, please.
Yay! Okay, so this is one of my favorite things that is coming up. We're moving into a little bit of features now. But when you build cities, because you'll be building buildings, and because we can tell if those buildings are going to be more upper class or more lower class, for example, or like richer or poorer structures, and we know kind of what they're built of, we'll be able to know the demographics of the city and how much the city costs and the kinds of different districts which are in there, which means that potentially you can go into the library and have a city with demographics, which is going to help you kick off your world building and get you inspired as well. So if you're like, oh, I need a random city, what's in the library? You can go grab something, and there's already that metadata that's going to give you information about the city, that's going to get you inspired to be like, oh, I can see all the buildings are made of wood. This is definitely near a wood, or this is definitely a port city, or this is definitely like this. And that's going to get you so inspired for adventure hooks. It's going to get you inspired for the kind of action that you'll see. If it's got a big courthouse, you can have court drama. If it's got a big palace, you can have intrigue. Like, these are such quick hooks. It's going to make it so much easier as a GM to just grab things and grab ideas quickly and get things moving. Because the worst thing about being a GM is all the hours and hours of planning. If you're doing it manually, if you're doing it without tools, if you're doing it on bits of paper. The best thing about being a GM is being able to play with your players, right? That's the thing that you want to do. So making sure that the most time that you're spending is playing with your players and doing all that good stuff and, you know, getting things moving, making stories, collaboratively storytelling, that's the good stuff. So creating things quickly and playing for a long time is the best use of time. That's the best time distribution, in my opinion. And I cannot wait to see how much this is going to speed up my own games and planning as well. I'm so psyched for it.
Yeah, me too. This actually, it was kind of a, to be honest, it was kind of a side effect of just having our GM node systems. And we said, okay, how can we use that in world maps or city maps? And it was so obvious because we are storing all those informations. We have to create all those assets and we have to store them in a database. So why not add information to that? And this also kind of sparked the idea that we want to do that on a region or a world map scale as well, because what we haven't been talking about yet, because it just recently came up, is you might want to talk about natural resources. Like when you're creating a forest biome, you could define what kind of wood is in that forest. If you're creating a mountain range, what kind of natural riches are buried in there. So having those meta information added to those things will be a great tool for just organizing your ideas. And
oh my gosh, it's going to be so inspiring. Like, we don't tend to think of this as world builders. We're like, oh yeah, and then there are some mountains. But if you think, what's in those mountains? Is it gold?
yes,
Is it marble? Is it a particular kind of magical crystal that actually fuels sky planes? Like, there's so much to be had in the world that inspires the story. And what I love about this is that it gives you the details right there, so you can already start making those connections. And that's where the stories come from. It's like, okay, so if I've got a city here and a mountain here that's full of magical crystals, these people have sky planes, for example. That's where the stories come from. And that's going to get you inspired so much quicker than just sitting there with a map going, I think there's probably a troll because that's easy and it's on page 1 of the bestiary. Exactly. It's going to be so good.
That's the exact same way I approached that, was because I was looking at one of the maps and I was like, they need a side quest. What could it be? And since I had that in mind when we discussed that for Project DEIOS, I was looking at the village next to the forest and the mountain range, and I said, well, what is the one resource that they don't have in their close vicinity? That's going to be their quest. We need, I think it was gems, rubies, and there was a ruby mine where I said, okay, that could be way over there. So let's go and get me some rubies. We need rubies for some reason. And just having the list of available resources versus missing resources, it sparks natural trade routes, because it makes things so much easier to think about trade when you know what is there and what is missing.
Yeah, and supply and demand creates connection automatically.
Exactly. And then, as you said, it is so simple to pull out a story out of that, because you just look at what's there, and the one thing that's missing, that's your story.
Yeah, because resources create motivations, and motivations create story, because story is people in motion.
We got a little bit carried away, I must say, because we're now talking about resources when we were talking about communities and collaboration. But I know
you have to watch that with me. I could talk about world building all day, and I get very excited about it.
Well, tell me. I mean, that's my life now. I'm talking about DEIOS. Let me, and I will never finish.
So we've been talking a little bit about some of the integrations and some of the tools, but I think it's a really important thing to address, and Till has previously called it the elephant in the room, which let's face it would not fit in this room. Is how is World Anvil and Dungeon Fog going to work together to bring this all about? And I'm so excited about this. So Till, why don't you kick us off with that?
Yes. All right. So I mean, again, the elephant in the room is you're currently having World Anvil and you're having Dungeon Fog. So what we are going to do in the first place is we're going to make those systems connected, allowing you to access all your maps in World Anvil. So when you have a World Anvil account and you're creating your worlds, you can connect your account to Dungeon Fog and have all the maps that you have created in Dungeon Fog accessible and available in World Anvil. And since you are describing and narrating your worlds in World Anvil, we want to turn this around the other way, which means that you will also have the nodes and the worlds that you've written accessible while you are building your maps in Dungeon Fog. So this is phase 1 and step 1 of the integration process. Once we're a little further down the road, we were going to investigate how a true synchronization can work, because I think the ultimate goal should be that you're not having two systems who are kind of sharing and exchanging things, but you're having a central thing that both systems can access and can take their information and can update the information, so everything stays synchronized all the time. With all those things, we need to test the waters, we need to experiment, we need to see how things are working, how they are working in terms of World Anvil systems and Dungeon Fog systems. But I'm very optimistic that we will find a way, because we have already started a bit into that direction, and it looks very promising. So in terms of how are we going to integrate, the answer will be as much as possible.
Definitely. One of the things I'm really excited about by this is, as I've mentioned previously, the way to world builder's disease, which is not the way we want to go, is to try and build everything ahead of time. Try and front load all of your world building and build an entire cosmos. You'll never get anything else done. No. Good luck. It was nice knowing you. But one of the more regular processes that people try, which is successful, is they build a bit, and then they write a bit, and then they build a bit, and then they write a bit. And that's true if you're doing RPGs or if you're doing novel writing. So what I found when I was writing my first novel is that I had myself a map, very, very ugly map. Sadly, Project DEIOS did not exist yet. I made it in Microsoft Paint. It looked like rubbish, but it worked. It was fine. But I got to a certain point where I was like, oh yeah, I need to add stuff. And I need some islands over here. And I can't put those in the map because I've already pinned it up, which means if I import a new map, I'm gonna have to do the pins again, and I just don't have that kind of time on my hands. So one of the things that I can't wait, and that we've been talking about with DEIOS, is the possibility of building your map in the Dungeon Fog side, moving it to the World Anvil side and pinning things up, moving it back to the Dungeon Fog side, so that you can edit the map and you can change things and you can add things, and then moving it back to World Anvil so that you can add pins on it. And the idea of having it from a single location, so it's always updated, means you will be able to continue to world build on the World Anvil side, and you will be able to continue to actually physically create the spaces on the Dungeon Fog side. So you're never going to be in a situation where you're like, well, I don't want to upload this and repin it, so no, I'm just not going to change it. You will have that artistic freedom, and you will have the freedom to expand and keep creating in the direction that your story is going, in the direction that those freaking players are going in that you never expected, because they always do that. You can guarantee if you make plan here, they're going that way. So yeah, I mean, that's one of the integrations that we've been talking about that I am incredibly excited about, is this shared functionality.
Yes. And again, there is a difference between just working in terms of working together as building an API that just exchanges things. The reason why we banded together for this project was that we wanted to really make those things work together, which means that we're not just looking at APIs, but we're trying, when we're building Project DEIOS, the way we are building it is paying close attention to how World Anvil works and how we can make things in a way that they seamlessly integrate. So as you've been talking about the pins, I just wanted to add, while you're creating your Project DEIOS map, wherever possible, we will also already hand over the pins. So you don't have to pin everything in World Anvil. You will have to pin things because we don't know everything you're doing in World Anvil. But there where it's possible, we will already give you the locations of the pins. And I think that's the beauty of this collaborative project, because we all sit together and talk and exchange and think of ways to make this work in the most clever and most effortless way for you to create your maps and your stories.
Absolutely. It's all about the journey from idea to world. And that's what we want to facilitate. That's what we want to make as easy and as streamlined as possible for you guys, so that you can get from A to B without having a drama in the middle. We want to make it easy for you guys, because we're selfish and we want to make it easy for us. We want this tool. I want it like yesterday.
I want it. Yes.
So yeah, I can't wait. But the other thing that we're going to be doing is helping players. So this is something I'm super excited. So as you guys may or may not know, World Anvil launched a new campaign manager site. We already had a campaign manager, but we upgraded it to like the nth degree. So now heroes can have their own kind of social media style profiles. You can microblog in addition to having electronic character sheets, in addition to being able to track your equipment and your quests and your motivations, and having a super advanced and expanded character biography and character background if you want to create that. You can do all of that. But how cool would it be if you could have your location in real time on the Project DEIOS map? How cool would it be if you could look at the map and be like, look, I was here, and then I went here and here and here and here and here and here and here. And how cool would it be if you could do that as a storyteller for your villains as well? Because there's always a villain with a MacGuffin that you need to try and get your party towards, and they're in motion. Because do you know what? Everything in the living world is in motion. How amazing is that going to be able to track that?
Yeah, it's going to be like absolutely amazing. And again, I think we're always, that's what you're saying, and what I'm picking up here is you can easily run into the wrong direction of only thinking about the game masters and only thinking about the writers, but forgetting about that players are part of that experience, and you want to make that experience a great experience for players as well. So that's why we, as you just said, that's why we're going to pay close attention to solutions that will allow us to make this something that players can experience as well. Might that be through commenting, might that be through their live position on the map. But again, with Dungeon Fog, we have the what we are calling the viewer, which is kind of a small solution to make maps visible for your players. There's going to be the same system as well for world maps and region maps, city maps, where you can show the map with a fog of war to your players while you're playing, and they can, a little Indiana Jones style, they can move and have their trail and track across the map to see where they have been moving and where their journey took them. So yeah, I think, unless you have something to add, Janet, let's wrap this up.
Yeah, absolutely. All I would like to say is that I can't wait for this. I'm so excited because I can see so many ways that I myself, as a creative person, am going to be using it as a player of RPGs, as a writer of novels, as a game master myself. I'm so excited, and I hope that you guys really are as well, because there is more to come. That's the other thing. This is not it. There's more stuff. I can't wait for you to see it all, and then your mind will be blown just like mine is. So it's going to be great. And of course, we always welcome your feedback. Ask us questions. Let us know what you want to see, because do you know what? If we know now, we can do something about it.
Yeah, I mean, we already have a wish list in our Discord, like to wrap this up properly. If you want to know more, there are still some reveals left, so keep an eye out for the next hint. Keep an eye out for the next riddle that you're going to have to solve. If you have solved the riddle, or if you need assistance, if you want to discuss whatever has been already revealed, go to our Project DEIOS Discord. Again, I will post the link below. And if you know the passphrase for this, if you found out this passphrase, just type !passphrase, and you will be unlocked for a hidden area on Discord where you can openly discuss everything. So we have a wish list. We have people adding with ideas. We're listening to them. We're taking them because, by God, those are great ideas, mostly. We're happy to see you there, because you can chat with us, you can chat with the others, and I can't wait to hear and see what you're saying about this reveal today, and I'm looking forward for your feedback on the next ones. So thank you, Janet. Thank you for being on board with me today.
My freaking pleasure. Always. Anytime.
Thank you for watching, and see you soon. Happy map making. Bye.